Good evening. Thank you all for joining us. This is September 26, 2023. It's approximately 7 p.m., and we appreciate you all joining us. This is the Board of Mayor and Aldermen meeting for the city of Hendersonville. We're going to begin as we typically do. That's with a prayer and a pledge. Unfortunately, tonight we have Dr. Alderman Eddie Robertson that's going to lead us in a prayer. So please join us.
Almighty God, the Rock of Ages, how great thou art. We praise and honor you for your unfailing and radical love for all humanity. Dear Lord, we pray for this city. We pray for its citizens. We pray that you'll put a blanket of love and protection over every family and every individual in our city. We pray that for our first responders, God, as they stand watch to protect us, personal and property, we pray that you will protect them and bring them home each day to their loved ones. Let them know how much they are appreciated and how much we honor their service to this city. We pray, dear Lord, for this board. We pray for your divine wisdom. We pray for your strength. We pray for your courage. Help us to not do a single thing, to say a single word that is not fitting and not acceptable unto thy sight. We thank you again for all these blessings, and we ask these things in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Amen.
Amen. Alderman Robertson, thank you. Appreciate that. Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. I'm going to entertain a motion to accept our agenda.
So moved.
We have a motion from Alderman Waters and a second from Alderman Sassy. Alderman Bergdorf.
Yes, thank you very much, Mayor. I'd like to withdraw item number 5 on the agenda, just for this period of time.
Okay.
And bring it back to another point.
Alderman Collins is the other sponsor of that. Alderman Collins, do you agree with that?
I second that.
Okay.
With the one question, do we need to say defer rather than withdraw?
So if you withdraw it, since y'all are the only two sponsored, it doesn't take a vote, and y'all can bring it back whenever. If you want to defer it, it takes a vote, and we decide when you bring it back.
Okay, we'll just withdraw it.
Okay, there we go. Okay, so
Perfect.
we're moving to item number 5. I need to make an amendment on a couple things here. There's actually 3 things in my amendment. One is I would like to add, after BOMA report, a discussion on a possible property purchase. I say that very slowly because that's difficult. Discussion on possible property purchase. My second item for my amendment is under presentations B, we are giving the September beautification awards, not the August ones. Those folks aren't here. And then under item 3, ordinances and resolutions, Alderman Waters' name is misspelled. So we're going to cross a T out there.
It's okay.
It's we don't have an Alderman Waters. We have a Waters.
You don't have one period.
So there's those 3 items, and I'll make that motion.
So moved.
We have a second from Alderman Waters. Any discussion on making those changes to the agenda? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. Thank you. Any other discussion? Any other items that anybody would like to add or change in the agenda? Okay. So these are the changes we made to the agenda. We removed item 5 under ordinances and resolutions. We added a discussion item on 9 under reports. That's the discussion of a possible property purchase. We fixed the spelling of Alderman Waters' name, and under B on presentations, we made that September beautification awards. Any more discussion? All those in favor of approving the agenda as amended, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Thank y'all. Next, we get to do a couple of those presentations. Let's see. We need the Holiday Fest, folks. So let's, y'all want to meet me up over here? Okay, perfect.
Can we guess who they are?
Here comes Santa Claus, here comes Santa Claus.
You can keep singing. I love Christmas music.
Yeah.
Jason, we good? Super. So this first presentation, you can probably figure out what it's about. This is this is about Holiday Fest. Let me read the proclamation that we have here. Whereas the city of Hendersonville, as a sister city of Whoville since 2007, proclaims that the holiday spirit will begin in Hendersonville on September 1st, 2023, and shall end in February 2024. And whereas the city of Hendersonville has been selected to lead the holidays in Tennessee in areas of including the Hendersonville Christmas Parade and tree lighting, and annual events including the Indian Lake Loop, Sparkle Noel Fashion Show, the Festival of Lights, the Christmas Tree Elegance, the Boat Parade and Gingerbread Competition, and the Santa Breakfast to benefit all of Sumner County charities. And whereas the city of Hendersonville will hold Holiday Fest celebrations, which were established in 2007 to conduct and enjoy the true spirit of the season while becoming a Hendersonville holiday tradition. And whereas the city of Hendersonville proclaims Holiday Fest as events which honor community, creativity, literacy, charity, and tradition, and honors the volunteers with an annual king, queen, and royal court. And whereas the city of Hendersonville will honor our sister city Whoville, along with the Parks Department, with the 8th annual Miss Cindy Lou Who writing contest to be held during the Holiday Fest celebrations, where every Hendersonvillian will enjoy the Christmas events. I, Jamie Clary, Mayor of the City of Hendersonville, in the desire to establish the holiday spirit and encourage giving, hereby proclaim this Holiday Fest season in effect through February 2024. And I encourage all our citizens to participate in these special holiday celebrations. I'm going to ask Larry to tell you a little bit more about what's going on, and then we're going to get probably a couple more pictures.
That'd be good.
Okay, but you get to take this with you.
Thank you
Go
very
ahead.
much, Mayor. Holiday Fest was established 18 years ago. Most of you know that, but we do a lot of things around Sumner County supporting the 501c3 charities of Sumner County. So we have already had the Champions of Valor breakfast. We had that last Monday morning, honoring the SROs of Sumner County. Then we had just this past weekend the first annual Sumner Food and Wine Festival. We had 80 people at a private dinner on Friday night at Saunders Ferry Park, $150 a ticket, 80 people, sold out, 5 courses, 5 wines. It was a wonderful night. The next day was a wine tasting and food tasting. There was over 500 people there for that. That benefited the Shalom Zone of Gallatin. Our Champions of Valor benefited CASA. And then the next big thing we have coming up is the Pig Fest coming up at the end of October. We have over 50 barbecue teams signed up for that event. Kentucky Headhunters are playing Friday night live at the park where Mary's Magical Place is, and then the barbecue teams start kicking off and cooking all night long for a great event on Saturday. And then we just move on through the month. We have the fashion show, we have the Indian Lake Loop, we have the ball that's going to be at Barry Lee's big pavilion place this year. Just a lot going on and a lot of things to do. So if you want to be, if you're interested and want to come to any of the events, Hendersonville, Holiday Fest, TN.org. Go online and find out what we're doing. We're going to be at the Taste of Hendersonville on Thursday, handing out information about it. So please come and be a part of this great thing that we do for our 501c3s in Sumner County. Everything we do stays here. So it's a wonderful thing. The Indian Lake Loop, 100% of the proceeds goes right back into Sumner County schools. So there's just so much that we do for our county, and we want everybody to participate and have a good time with it. So,
Awesome.
Thank you.
Appreciate y'all being here.
Yes, sir. All right, one big picture.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Yes, you are, Mayor.
I'll have to look up and see what kind of things he did. So, So next, we have Kathy Pascal and several assistants with her. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah. Thank you, Mayor, Aldermen. It's good to be here tonight to get to announce to you our Beautification Award winners. And our first award winner tonight is our Business Award, and that goes to Volunteer Village. And if you will come on up, we have Volunteer Village is at 247 West Main. That's on the corner of Main Street and Walton Ferry. And we have some before pictures and then an after picture. And accepting that tonight is the developer, Mr. Kenneth Powers. So thank you so much. What a transformation. It's just beautiful. And let me see here. You can, yeah, that's good. So these are some of the before pictures and then an after picture that he did with, I don't know, is that the west side or?
That's
Dude.
facing Galaxy.
That's, and then back to that before. If you don't remember what it looked like, but this has been a huge transformation. It's really lightened everything. It looks so much more current. It looks just inviting. You want to go shopping there. So thank you so
Thank you
much. We
very much.
appreciate it.
And
Okay.
thanks for the city's help in doing it. It was a mutual effort.
Well, we appreciate it. And if you would stand right over here, please. And everyone's going to come join you for a picture at the end. Thank you. Right there will be fine. Oh, and in Ward 2 at 142 North Country Club Drive, we have Scout and Jimmy Edwards. And if you'll come on up, they've done a beautiful job at their lawn there. And here you go with your certificate. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. And your card right there. Thank you. And if you'll just stay there, at the end, we'll take a picture of everyone. So, but they've done a beautiful job there as well. And in Ward 3, I don't believe our winners are here tonight, but that is at 185 Evergreen Circle. That's Tom and Debbie Smith. And again, they're not able to be with us tonight, but they've done a beautiful job too. And then in Ward 4, we've got John and Barbara Benbow. You'll come on up. Thank you so much. It's a beautiful job. We appreciate all of your efforts to making it a beautiful community. You'll stand there. Again, pictures of just some of that. And then in Ward 5, we have Jeff Ernsberger. And I don't see Mr. Jeff here, but he was so excited to receive his award and has a beautiful job there, a corner lot that he works in all the time and has just done a beautiful job. So I hope you guys are able to ride around and enjoy these. So on Ward 6 at 119 Wessington Place, we have Mr. Jeremiah Hackert. Here you go, Jeremiah. Thank you so much. He has done a beautiful job, and we have a before and after as well on his. Oh, no, we don't, huh? We did, he did a beautiful job there on the corner and has had the home for a couple of years now, I guess, and has really transformed that place and continues to do so. And so thank you for serving our community and beautifying it and also serving the community in the fire department. So thank you so very much to all of you for the great job that you've done.
So Casey, what do we?
And if you'll just remain right there, we're going to take a picture.
So Casey, what do we want to do? You want to ask everybody to scoot in a little bit? Okay.
But let the mayor be in the middle.
You're
yeah,
fine, you're
like
fine.
that.
Go ahead. Go ahead. You're fine.
Thanks, Greg.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That neighborhood is so much bigger than.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you guys so much.
You're welcome. I appreciate y'all doing that.
Also,
It's like the TARDIS. It's
I
bigger
want
than-
to remind you guys that everyone can send in a nomination. I hope that all of the winners will send in a nomination for next month. Next month will be our last month for this year. We'll start up again in the spring, but please send in your nominations. We need those. And also want to just remind you guys of a save the date for November the 11th. That's a Saturday. We're going to be doing a citywide litter cleanup. So we'll have more information on that. There will be an online sign-up available through the city website. So we look forward to seeing you then. Thank
Kathy,
you.
thank you, and thank you, Greg, from Ace Hardware. Appreciate everything y'all
That's
do.
right. That's right. Thank you.
So we don't have any public hearings. Next, I'm going to entertain a motion that we approve the minutes from our September 12th, 2023 meeting. We have a motion from Alderman Garza, a second from Alderman Goodwin. Any discussion? Alderman Peterson.
Abstain.
Okay. All those in favor of approving the minutes that were provided to you for our September 12th, 2023 meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. That passes unanimously with one abstention from Alderman Peterson. Now we have citizen comments. One person has
Two.
signed up. Who's the other one? Oh, I'm sorry. Alderman Dixon also abstained. Okay. Speakers must identify themselves by name and address. Public comment shall be limited to 5 minutes per person, which time is not transferable to other speakers. All comments are to be directed to the presiding officer, not to the alderman, city staff, or other members of the public. Comments must address issues, not individuals or personalities. Personal attacks shall not be tolerated. Comments may support or oppose particular issues or measures, but the motives of those with different views shall not be questioned or attacked. Malicious comments will not be allowed. Speeches for or against particular candidates running for public office shall not be allowed. Stephen Rozek, Lawrence Way.
Stephen Rozak, 110 South Lawrence Way here in Hendersonville. I just have a comment in regards to item 2 on the agenda, the ordinance 2023-19, the rezoning application. I was just wondering if anyone I haven't seen any modifications to the plans. And the one issue I had with the plans for that rezoning was that the access or egress for this proposed rezoning was going to go through Regions Bank parking lot. And Regions Bank parking lot, since I bank there all the time, it's very congested as it is. And I was wondering if anything has been done to rectify that situation. We've had accidents in the parking lot as it stands today without any further additional traffic going through there. And that's my question. If anyone could answer it, if not, direct me to where I could get an answer.
Mr. Rozek, thank you. We don't have anything on our consent agenda. Our next item is item 1 under ordinance and resolutions. This is second and final reading of ordinance 2023-17, an ordinance amending Hendersonville Municipal Code Title 1, Title 2, and Title 20 relative to the purpose and structure of city boards and committees.
So moved.
We have a motion from Alderman Waters
Second.
and a second from Alderman Collins. Any discussion? Alderman Collins, I have your light on. Is that my mistake? Okay. All those in favor? Oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
There's, so we're replacing the chapter on city administrator with the ordinance on the chief of operations by what was passed last time, correct? Yeah,
So,
okay.
and that's,
So,
and we're good with that. Those have been made, right? Hold on here.
yeah.
Okay, so, okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Okay.
What I wanted to say was that in the ordinance for the chief of operations that is replacing that chapter, there's just 3 items in it that are now obsolete that we need to take out, that doesn't go into the code.
Do we need to make an amendment for that?
Yeah, if somebody could make a motion to delete section 2, items 4 and 6.
What page are you on? You on 11?
Well, this is from the ordinance that's replacing it for the chief of operations. I have a copy of that. That's ordinance 2020-53. And I can explain what these items are, and I have a copy of it if anybody needs it. So,
Should we pass it out to everybody?
yeah, sure.
Okay, we'll do that. Okay. So Lance, this is a substitute amendment, am I correct?
This is Alderman Waters made the amendment to this ordinance last meeting.
Okay. So what you're handing to us,
Is the ordinance that's replacing.
gotcha, okay. Do we need to make another motion, or did we make all the motions we needed to 2 weeks ago?
We need to make a motion to delete 3 items. They're
Okay.
just
Okay.
minor items.
Okay.
So, yeah, this is, as Alderman Robertson just said, this is just to clean it up a little bit. So in section 2, item 4 has to do with the qualification that was deleted in a previous ordinance.
Okay.
Item 6 of that same section 2 talks about a pay grade,
Okay.
and that's now obsolete. And then in section 4, item 2, it discusses some things about the interim city administrator at the time, so that should not go in the code as well.
Where is the last item you mentioned? You said section 4?
Item 2.
Okay.
So if everyone is in agreement and can make that motion to delete section 2, items 4 and,
That'd be helpful. Alderman Goodwin.
I make a motion then in section 2 to delete number 4 and number 6, and in section 4 to delete number 2
and remunerate accordingly.
and renumerate accordingly.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Alderman Goodwin makes a motion. Alderman Garden, second. Does anybody need clarification on that?
Yes.
Okay. Lance, can you help? Alderman Waters, go ahead.
Yes, sir. In the ordinance that you moved to replace the chief administrator, the ordinance of the chief of operations, there were 3 items in there that are now obsolete, and we're just cleaning it up to take those items out, so when it goes into the code, it won't have those items in there.
Okay, okay. What was your amendment?
To move those 3, to remove the 3 items.
Okay, I agree. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, appreciate that, Alderman Waters. Alderman Peterson.
Thank you, Mayor. On agenda item number 1 is ordinance 2023-17. This ordinance has a different number.
So I'll let Lance explain that. We're using an ordinance to amend a previous ordinance. Is that the best?
Yes. So this ordinance, 2023-17, in that Alderman Waters and made the motion and the board voted to also delete Chapter 13 of the code, which deals with the city administrator, and replace with that the ordinance that you have in front of you for the chief of operations into the code. So
Right.
that's why they're different numbers.
Probably the best similarity I can give you is when we decide to spend additional money or change our budget, we have to pass an ordinance that changes a previous ordinance.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, appreciate that. Alderman Dixon on this item or on the whole?
I have a change to the appendix that's at the back of the ordinance.
Can we wait? Can we take
Yes.
care of these? Okay, okay. So any other discussion on the motion of removing those 3 items? Alderman Sassy.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Can you explain why section 2, number 4 would be obsolete?
Yes, in the last budget ordinance that the board approved, that position will be paid according to each budget ordinance, as other positions like the mayor.
No, not the pay, sorry.
Oh, I'm
The
sorry.
Number 4, the appointee must agree to achieve the CPM status.
In a previous ordinance, I believe it was a year or 2 ago, the board decided to take that out.
So was it not, wouldn't that ordinance have already deleted that line from this ordinance?
I guess you could say that, but it'd be cleaner if we just did it this way, since the board voted that it would replace what it's still, I don't know. I think it'd be cleaner if you went ahead and deleted it from that. Because basically, Alderman Waters is, and the board voted to replace what you have in front of you with that. But you do have a point, so you
Well, yeah, I just want to make sure we're doing this the right way. So if this has already been deleted, would we, by voting to delete it again, I mean, this isn't, does that negate the other deletion? I mean,
no. The
I
reason
don't see how this could come back at
The
us,
reason I
but-
thought it would be best to do it this way is for whoever is going to input this and update our code with it, they might not have known that that was in a previous one.
Okay. Sure. All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions or comments concerning the amendment? Hold on here. Alderman Martin.
Yes, I just had a general question because it does get a little bit confusing. We pulled up the municipal code, and I guess we had a discussion on updating the municipal code with changes like this as we go through. Is that something that's still on the horizon?
Absolutely. And in fact, this is, I guess you could call it phase one of this, of that, which is a lot of what this ordinance, where it originated from, is a lot of these boards that are in the ordinance are duplicates in the code, and they actually contradict each other in some ways. So that was part of it, and then this part of it, as far as the chief administrator goes, it goes along with that. So that's a yes.
Thank you, Alderman Martin. Any other discussion on this amendment? So what we've got is the item that Lance handed to you. If you look on the second page, we're removing item 4 and 6 in the top section. And then on the third page, we're removing item 2, which is under section 4. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Alderman Dixon.
Yes, just an administrative change. I believe, I don't think we'd have to vote on this, but page 21, number 3, for the Deer Herd Monitoring and Control Committee, that is not Dixon. That should be, I think it's Alderman Bergdorf. Right.
Is that just for information purposes?
I
that-
think I think this,
Okay.
is this referred to, appendix referred to in the ordinance? If
What are
it's
your thoughts,
not, then
Lance?
we don't.
I would have to ask Jesse that, actually. I don't think it is.
Hold on. There we go. Go ahead.
It was just for reference purposes
Okay,
to list
great.
them.
Okay. You just want to make sure that you were not part of that committee anymore? Is
Yes.
that- Okay. Any other discussion? We're back on the main motion, ordinance 2020-53. Ordinance 2023-17, excuse me.
Right.
Okay. All those in favor of second and final reading ordinance 2023-17, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Thank you. Now we're on first reading of ordinance 2023-19. This is an ordinance rezoning 4.34 acres located at 281 East Main Street between Maple Road Boulevard and Maple Drive on the south side of East Main Street and approving the Alexander Commercial Development Plan to govern the development of that property. Do I hear a motion? We have a motion. Who was that? From Alderman Collins. And a second? A second from Alderman Sassy. Alderman Martin, go ahead.
So we received this today, and I was going to see if Timothy, if you could just walk us through the differences between what was presented or proposed last time with what was presented this time.
It's not on.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
See if there's an extra one.
You're good now, Timothy.
can you pull it up on the screen?
I think we're good, right?
So in the updated staff report y'all received this afternoon by email and was printed out for you, first thing before I address that, On the second page of that staff report, third sentence down where it says the existing red light, that should say stop sign instead of red light. So there's a stop sign at the intersection of East Main Street and Maple Road Boulevard. So I just want to make that
Page 2 where?
page 2.
It's the third line from the top on page 2.
So as to the changes, and you can kind of see the changes, again, that staff report, the first big image is what they submitted previously, and then the second image is the most recent update. So those changes, so they added an access point behind Regions Bank that would access to Maple Row. And as to the citizen comment about that, so the first image, they had proposed a cross-access from their front parking lot to the front parking lot of Regions Bank. So with this new plan, that goes away. Well, I take that back. It does. Yeah, it goes away, and in its place, there will be an access to the rear of Regions Bank. That's the biggest change to the plan, is that new access point going out to Maple Road Boulevard, which would then give access to the stop sign at Gallatin Pike. They had, on the initial plan, they had a full access, they proposed a new full access onto Main Street. That changes to a right in, right out. So that would leave them on Main Street with a right out only to the east of that full access, and then the existing full access at Simmons Bank. The adding that rear access, they to take advantage of that rear access, they had to push their site layout away from the street, further back. That means that the detention ponds got moved from the back to the front along Main Street.
Okay, so just to update everybody, this is the property which they're proposing a Chick-fil-A, Starbucks, and then I guess a kind of a health clinic, I think.
Best Base.
Yeah,
So
urgent care. And
it's-
last time I guess a month ago, in our BOMA meeting, we had a concern about the three properties being landlocked. And so what this does is it gives an alternate access off of Maple Row Boulevard, which is a huge benefit because it could help out with the queuing and concerns about the amount of vehicles that Chick-fil-A would bring. So it's a much better design. And I emailed you a question today. I was going to see if you could update everybody of, hey, the road is located on two properties. One is going to be the Regions Bank, and the other is where Inova Dermatology is.
Correct.
And the question was, hey, are the property owners okay with this access road? I think citizen comments has asked about it too.
Sure. Yes, so the update that we've gotten from the developer is that they have been in talks with both the Regions Bank and the Inova Dermatology, have at least verbal agreements to this layout that you see here. So they've got that. They've also been in talks with Simmons Bank and the Maple Glen offices to the east of Simmons Bank about cross-access there. They don't have agreements for that and may or may not get those. Probably would not get access across the Simmons Bank to the Maple Glen office. Is that correct?
That's fine, but this would be a second option for vehicles. So you have talks, or they said, yeah, well, we can do that, or what? Sure.
So without objection, we're going to hear from the applicant. Please give us your name and who you represent.
Miranda Kelly. I'm with the applicant, RNC Enterprises. And yes, we have had discussions with them, and like you said, we've sent the site plans to them. Anovo is very interested and wants to work with us and is willing because of some of their parking issues and other things in the back. So we're going to hopefully make it much better for them. Regions reached back out. I think the last time we gave you an update, they were kind of unwilling to do the front access, but we continued talks with them, and we think this will solve some of their problems as well with their parking lot to go through the rear, and they're willing to relocate their ATM to provide space there for it. And so also we're hoping that going through the rear, and I think they have two accesses there, that one back access may do away with and we'll only have the rear one. It'll make stacking better, hopefully, on Maple Road Boulevard because it'll be further back coming around the rear of Regions Bank.
Okay, it's a much better site plan, and I'm assuming, or can I assume that it's going to eliminate the need for a traffic light, or is that still something Chick-fil-A wants?
We will work with, we don't know for certain if Chick-fil-A will require that or not, or what will be the, where we're at right now. We had a discussion with TDOT as well, and I think they basically will make recommendations, but leave it up to the city to make the determination if a red light would be installed or not. So that will be up to the city to look at the, traffic impact studies and determine if a red light is needed there or not. And if it was, I think they were saying they would expect the developer to bear some cost in that, and we would be willing, if there was determined that there needed one, the developer would be willing to bear 50% of that. I know the development across the street will also be a big impact, possibly, to what all's going on in that area.
So are you still in talks with Chick-fil-A and Starbucks, or you have something more firm?
We don't have anything more firm at this time. We still are in talks with all of them. None of them have told us, none of them have backed out from it, of what we originally told you. So we're still in talks with them. But like we said last time, it's not a binding commitment from any of them. So we don't know. At this point, we're just seeing if we can get approval for the rezoning, and then it would go back through planning, and that's when we would get more, more affirmative answers from them. But Starbucks has told us, they've recommitted and said they are very interested as long as we can get the approvals to make that happen.
Well, we're interested.
So,
and you're not going to sell the property, you're going to hold on to it?
yeah, we plan on holding it.
Okay. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Martin. Hey, Timothy, help me out a little bit here. If talks fail and this development does not get that access to Maple Road Boulevard, do these things get built?
Not if you were to make it a condition of approval that they obtain that access and it gets built. One thing you might want to consider is getting a commitment as to when it gets built with which lot. Is it with the first lot, the second lot, 3 lots? But yes, if you make that a condition of approval, then the FDP, if they can't meet that, then they have to go back to the drawing board and go through the amendment process for some other solution.
Okay. What's a good threshold? Let's say we choose the second lot. They couldn't get a building permit for the second lot unless they have that access built? I'm thinking of the middle lot, that's what I'm thinking, not necessarily the second one built. But if they haven't built access through the back there, they can't get a building permit. Is that reasonable?
Yes, I think it's reasonable to require the access be built in conjunction with the development of that middle lot at a minimum.
Michael, your thoughts?
I think that's a great idea, and we could tie.
Sorry.
I think it's a great idea, and we could just tie it to Chick-fil-A because that's the tenant that would have the biggest impact on traffic.
Which is the middle lot?
Which is the middle lot. So I think that's a wonderful idea.
Okay.
Well, I would recommend tying it to, because it could be some other quick service restaurant. So in the event it's not Chick-fil-A, you might consider tying it to a quick service restaurant at that middle lot or just the middle lot.
Just a building permit on the middle lot.
Right.
Okay, let me ask you another question. Whose decision is it gonna be that a traffic signal is needed on Gallatin Road?
So they have submitted a traffic study to the city, which is under current review by Public Works.
Okay.
I think that's a question for Sarah or.
I'm eventually gonna have all our staff up here answering questions.
We did receive the TIS fairly recently and are reviewing it. The traffic impact study does show a traffic signal is warranted. It actually shows it could be warranted today for the Maple Road Boulevard traffic and Main Street. So ultimately, it's the city's decision on what we require from the developer. So if you require them to construct all improvements as recommended through their traffic impact study, then that would be the city's decision to construct the traffic signal.
And by making that requirement, do we need to also stipulate that they pay for the signal or for how much they pay for? Or
Yes, you would stipulate whether you would have them pay for the entire portion if they were to construct before any other approvals were made in the area, or 50%, or if the city were to bear the burden of the cost, or.
Okay. Do you feel confident that if this were rejected and the current uses for that property were developed, we would need a traffic signal?
Yeah, it's still possible that a traffic signal would still be warranted.
I'm trying to figure out if we should expect 100% from them or what percent we should expect from them. How much of this is their fault? How much
Sure.
of the additional traffic is their fault is what I'm looking for.
Yeah. This has been done several different ways in the past.
Okay.
So we do, as you've stated, the development across the street. We have not received their revised traffic impact study, but at times when we've had submittals within the same time frame, that cost has been broken up.
Okay.
We have put that on whoever develops first.
Okay.
The traffic signal would be required at that time.
Okay.
We have taken payment in lieu or surety for a traffic signal to construct once both are ready.
Okay.
So there are a variety of ways you could approach that.
Okay. Let me go back to Timothy. Timothy, on the submittal from Mayfair Properties, are they offering to pay for a traffic signal?
We have not received that offer from them.
Okay.
Or a commitment.
Okay. Okay. And that's going to be at the Planning Commission?
It'll be at the Planning Commission at their October meeting, and then we'll come before BOMA at the October 24th meeting.
Okay. Development of Mayfair property would benefit from a traffic signal. Is that appropriate?
I think that's fair to say.
Okay. Let me look at something else here real quickly. Somewhere in Planning Commission, they mentioned about removing a call center as a use. Do we need to do that, or has that already been done?
It's already been removed.
It was, yes, it was already removed at the Planning Commission.
Okay.
So that's been done.
So we're good to go. Okay. I'm going to come back with an amendment. Go ahead, Sarah. Please.
Sorry, I'd just like to add one thing. Just in preliminary reviews, one of the things that they noted for the traffic impact analysis was the timings.
Okay.
So as we're looking toward coordinating our corridors, I think it would be important it wasn't specified in their traffic impact study, but I think the city would want, if they are constructing a traffic signal, that would need to be coordinated with the two adjacent traffic signals.
Meaning the one at Maple and Indian Lake?
That's right. Yeah.
You start writing something. Okay. We'll come back with an amendment in just a second. Let's go to Alderman Collins. Thank you both.
I request that if we can get this graphic on the screen. Is that possible? Thank you. I think that was just a little easier to understand, and I wanted to make sure that we answered the question from citizen comments. So my question is, where would they move the ATMs at Regions to? Where would they be Or is that like an issue we deal with regions when they submit a site plan or?
I'm not 100% positive, but I believe they were moving it closer to their building. They said they would relocate it, but I'm not 100% sure exactly where it's going.
Okay.
And we would require, as part of that work, we would require a site plan that addressed everything that's going on at the Regions Bank and at the Inova Dermatology side, just so there's a plan for what's moving where, all that gets coordinated.
My other question might not even be applicable because it sounds like the configuration of the regions is going to change, but it seems like the driveway that goes to Maple Row and the driveway that I think is the one that goes into the regions are really close to each other. And I wanted to hear, is that gonna, well, first of all, is it likely to stay that way? Am I worrying about something I don't need to worry about?
I think you're talking about the two existing driveways coming off of Maple Road that currently go into Regions. Is that what you're
Yes.
asking about? Yes.
And the new one that you were
That's right.
proposing, they seem super close.
Yes, that's where we have proposed that would be done away with, the back one. So you would so traffic coming around would not have that second entry point. They would have to come down to the back road there, come out of Regions and into the back road.
Okay.
Is that, it's not 100% certain, but that's what we've proposed with
Okay.
Regions. And have to be addressed with planning too, to make sure everybody signs off on that.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Collins, anything else?
No?
Thank you. Alderman Robertson.
Timothy, what kind of buffer will be in place between the buildings and the residential lots behind it? First of all, give me the distance. How much distance from that double lane center building, the driveway?
A minimum of 20 feet.
20 feet, and that's according to our.
You still have 30. Okay, so 20 feet is the minimum required by the ordinance. The developer's telling me that they will maintain 30 feet.
Okay, good. And what about vegetation? Will there be any vegetation or anything to provide a buffer for those residents' homes?
Yes, they'll have to meet the city's standard for vegetating that buffer.
Okay, and that'll be done at the Planning Commission, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And this road that is going through now the back of Regents, will that become a city road?
No, sir, that would be private.
Okay. And does the developer, do you have an agreement with Regents Bank to do this, or is it just verbal?
It's just verbal right now. We've, through an email. So we've had email correspondence with them where we've sent the site plan and they were in agreement with the site plan. So we don't have a written agreement as far as the access and providing, that cross easement access, but that would come, obviously, as long as we're able to work through all of that with them.
Thank you. And Timothy, one last question. The exits to this onto Main Street, is that a right turn lane only? The two, it looks like two exits.
Yes, so that exit there to the western proposed, that's a right in, right out. The one in the middle is a right out only.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. And Mayor, I think some motion for stipulations would be a good idea.
Okay.
So I think that's a good idea.
We have our best and brightest working on that wording right now.
Okay.
Timothy, where that traffic signal would be where?
At Maple Row Boulevard, just.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Just barely on the left-hand side of the screen there.
Okay. Alderman Sassy. Thank you, Alderman Robertson.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Couple questions on this. So it looks like on that new road behind Regions that it is cutting off some of the parking for Regions Bank there. So are those parking spaces going to be relocated or are they going to be removed? And if so, Will that still maintain the amount of parking required for that lot, for that business?
So they would be required to maintain they would have to maintain their required parking. They would not be allowed to go below that, and we would ascertain that at the site plan stage. I'm not sure.
It's actually down here.
Let me just look at the plan here really quick to see what you're referring to.
Third and fourth paragraph.
Okay, thank you. Right, so there's, they could, if they're able to lose those parking spaces without dipping below their required, they could do that. If they are indeed required parking spaces, they would have to find some other location on their site for those, or have a shared parking agreement.
Okay. Right. Okay. And that building that's behind Regions Bank, that white building right there, what is that?
That's the Inova Dermatology.
Okay,
Clinic.
all right. And so the parking behind them is going to be impacted, right? But it looks like it's the same number of spaces, they're just being moved?
It would be the same or more, I believe. Yeah,
And address their detention issues, water
right, and I believe they've been, I think they had reached out to y'all to, they've been wanting their rear parking lot addressed for quite some time before this project even came on board. They've had issues with parking. I think this would get us, at least to some extent, alleviate the issues they're having. So, but they would not be allowed to go below their existing parking unless they're already parked above required.
So before they can build one.
Right.
They have to.
Can you tell me what the number of spaces in the new development that's being proposed? Is it the same number of parking spaces or more or less on the new plan?
I don't know. Okay, yeah,
Parking's
parking
the
doesn't
same?
change, but, correct.
Okay.
And again, they would be, they're at the site plan stage, they would be required to meet our parking, required parking ratios.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Sassy. Alderman Goodwin.
Will that access road be wide enough for a fire truck to get through?
It will be 24 feet wide, which meets our minimum standard and fire's minimum standard as far as I'm aware. So, yes, I believe so.
Thank you, Alderman Goodwin. Alderman Garten.
Can we ask Chief Bush
Sure.
his opinion on the entrances?
So can we scroll down on that picture where we're talking about right in, right out only? On the very top, yeah, right in there, the first one. So obviously Station 3 is just right up the road at Bonita Parkway. So if it's right in, right out only, that's going to limit us to get access there. Is there second access for us? So like if a traffic crash was to happen on Maple Road, how would we access that row of buildings?
Could you come through Maple Drive?
That's to the, I guess, the east there. Is that on the top end of the east side there?
Yes, that's the full access.
No,
Okay.
Maple Drive.
Okay. So if we had a wreck or a crash there at Maple Road, we still would have access on Maple Drive?
No,
Okay. All right.
it
Very
doesn't
good.
connect to Maple Drive.
It does not connect to Maple Drive?
No, I'm sorry, I thought you were talking about Maple Road Boulevard. It would connect through Simmons Bank.
Right.
Um,
So I'm saying
back
if
to
there's a
Maple Road.
traffic crash
No,
there.
right,
And
yeah.
it blocks that, and it's right in, right out only coming out of there, how would we have access into it?
There's a full access on the Simmons Bank.
Okay, so there's another access there. Okay. And has Shane and them seen all this?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
There were fire department comments for the planning.
20,
commission.
24 feet's pushing it. I mean, most of our apparatus are 30. Those truck companies are much, much larger. That's gonna be tight. Just FYI.
So here we have no comments submitted by Shane Nolan, Deputy Fire Marshal, July 27,
So
2023.
he must be okay with it,
Okay.
says it's gonna work, okay?
Okay, appreciate that. Anything else? Who is it? Alderman Garten?
That was all I had.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Bergdorf?
Thank you, Mayor. Just looking at the plans here, one of the things I've noticed that I'm a novice to municipal planning and the boards and all those other things, but there's a couple of questions that stand out regarding this. Number one, it looks like Simmons Bank is not working. We're not going to have access through Simmons Bank. Is that correct? There will be access through, well, this development will utilize the full access that is currently at Simmons Bank. Okay, so there is an access easement that covers that access coming off of Main Street and provides them access through that. I must have that access point. misunderstood you when I heard there was no access to Simmons Well, Bank. there's, so it would not, and correct me if I'm wrong, this would not give them access through the Simmons Bank parking lot over to the office building to the east of that. It would allow them just to utilize that access point coming off of Main Street and then turning right into their development. Okay, all right, I think I understand now. Number two, what is we're talking a lot. We got a lot of talks. We're talking here, we're talking there, we got emails, back and forth and stuff. What is the level of commitment required of the board to allow the change? What is the standard? That's a rhetorical question, I guess. I don't know. So if you make it a condition of the FDP, it's a requirement. They have to provide it, at least by the time, if you make this condition, at least by the time that middle lot is built. Okay. If they can't meet that condition, they don't get a building permit. Okay. All right, thank you for clearing that up. Sure. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Alderman Bergdorf. So, Timothy, do you have the ordinance in front of you? Ordinance 2023-19.
Let's see here.
Because I'm going to add some wording. I want to make sure that it covers what we've been talking about. And Sarah, can you follow along too? I think this would be helpful.
What page are we on? 22. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, so section 1 has 2 paragraphs right now. What I'm going to suggest we do is we add a 3rd paragraph to section 1. And that 3rd paragraph would say, what should it say? The FTP, as a condition of FDP, as 2 conditions of the final development plan, 50% of the estimated traffic light construction payment must be paid by the developer. And it should say developer, or should it say owner?
Developer/owner.
Okay. And the middle parcel is prohibited from being developed prior to access to Maple Road Boulevard being completed. If I need to change the wording, feel free, because I just changed the wording that Lance gave me, and I'm already trembling a little bit.
Prohibited from being developed prior to access
to Maple Road Boulevard being completed. Sarah, you have something on your mind?
Being developed, I don't know if that's,
Being built?
should it be tied to a specific activity?
Being permitted?
Permitted.
Okay, let's go with that. You following us? We're going to have Timothy read it back to us, because at this point I don't know it.
As a condition of the FDP, 50% of the traffic signal must be paid by the developer/owner, and the middle parcel is prohibited from being developed prior to access of Maple Road Boulevard being provided.
We changed developed to permitted, didn't we?
Yes. Correct.
Okay. I'm going to ask you to read it all over again. Take your time, you're fine.
As a condition of the FDP, 50% of the traffic signal must be paid by the developer/owner, and the middle parcel is prohibited from being permitted prior to access to Maple Road Boulevard being provided.
Michael, I'm looking at you. Thoughts?
That sounds good. I think we balanced the risk in good faith, and I think that's good.
Timothy, Sarah?
I think that's
I'm good with it.
good.
Alderman, thank you. Alderman Dixon?
Yes, you're saying 50%, your intent there is to hit May, what is it, May 5th?
Mayfair.
I have an intent to
Is it
to seek funding from another source.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
That's it.
So I'll
Thank you.
make that motion. We have a second from Alderman Waters. Any other discussion on that motion? Do y'all have any concerns you want to mention now? Okay. All those in favor of the motion to amend, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Now we're back on the main motion. Any discussion? Timothy, anything we've forgotten? Sarah, anything we've forgotten?
I don't believe so.
I'm looking at my notes here. Any other discussion? All those in favor of, go ahead, hold on, Jeff. Go ahead, Alderman Sassy.
I just want to make sure the sidewalks are maintained there as well, right? Because I can't tell from this picture, but I just want to make sure there's sidewalks maintained there. All the way across?
Along Main Street?
Along Main Street, yeah.
Yes, they would be required to construct those sidewalks.
Great, thank you.
All those in favor of first reading ordinance 2023-19 as amended, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passed unanimously. Thank you all for your work on this. I'm sorry. Oh, 2 noes? Alderman Bergdorf and Alderman Skidmore, no. Any other noes? Thank you all. Appreciate y'all's help. We are at first reading of ordinance 2023-20. This is an ordinance requesting citizens to determine by election whether to adequately fund public safety, infrastructure, parks, and paving in the city of Hendersonville by a small increase in sales tax of a half penny per dollar for only 10 years. Alderman Robertson. Motion?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And I do have an amendment
Okay.
to this, and this amendment,
Let's get a motion real quick. And I
Okay.
assume Alderman Waters.
well, let me read, I need to read the motion.
Okay.
I want to add a whereas, which would be the last whereas in the ordinance. And the last whereas would read this, and I think you have a copy of it. Under current state law. Okay.
Hold on, Alderman Robertson, just a
yeah.
second. We're not with you.
Okay.
So it's being passed out right now. I need a copy.
Okay, I believe all of you have
We're
a
good?
copy
Yep.
of my amendment. And this amendment comes from the General Committee. Chairman Peterson at that committee asked about the sales tax on groceries. And so this amendment, one whereas and one section 8 in the resolved ordinance deals with that. And since I'm going to be talking a lot about the ordinance in general, could our city attorney go over this amendment and explain what we're trying to do here? Thank you.
Sure. So, for the local option sales tax has to be taxed on everything by state law unless it's specifically exempted by state law. So there is no authorization to specifically exempt groceries, or as the statute defines it, food and food ingredients not otherwise in a restaurant. So Alderman Robertson wishes that by this ordinance, we request our General Assembly, specifically our delegates to the General Assembly, to vote and pass that authorization for the city to exempt groceries.
And I so move.
Okay, so we've got a motion that we're adding a whereas, but then we're also adding, so on what Lance handed out to you on page 2? So that's on page 34 right now of our packet. That whereas is on page 34.
So that should not have been in there.
Okay.
The one that passed out of the General Assembly, out of General Committee and went to Finance Committee is a previous version. I had emailed this out, and I think it just got mixed up.
Okay. So the motion is to, on page 34, to add the last whereas, and on page 35 to add section 8.
That's it. That's correct.
Okay. So Alderman Waters, do you want to talk about this amendment? Or Alderman Robertson, anything else on this amendment?
No, I also want to make sure that we include the language that General Committee approved. But no, not at this time. I stand with my motion.
Okay, so we'll come back to that in a second. Okay, Alderman Waters, any discussion on this amendment?
No, thank you.
Okay. He was the second. Yeah, Robertson was. So, sorry, Alderman Waters, did you second the amendment also? Yes, sir. Okay, thank you. Okay. So we have nobody else wishing to speak on this amendment. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion from Alderman Robertson, Alderman Bergdorf?
Just wanted to,
Yes.
on the amendment, if this amendment is added and it is passed, maybe I'm not speaking at the right time, I'm not sure, please correct me if I am.
Okay.
If the amendment is added, and then is this ordinance conditional on that passing the state legislature?
No, I can speak to that. No, it's not.
It's not,
It's
okay.
doing an extra thing, which is asking the General Assembly to pass that.
So we're merely asking?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Alderman
Appreciate it.
Bergdorf. Thank you, Lance. Any other discussion on the amendment? All those in favor of the amendment, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Alderman Robertson.
And how will we deal with what General Committee approved as far as the language that will appear on the ballot? Mayor or Mr. Ray?
Is in the amended one the copy I passed to you, does that have the language?
No, it does not.
Then we need to make that motion to amend it. I don't have that language in front. Do you have it?
I thought it was right here under section 7.
Hold on just a second, Alderman Dixon.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Alderman Robertson says it's not the language.
Oh.
Well, I may be mistaken. Where is it, Alderman Dixon?
Section 7, second paragraph.
Section 7. Yes, that language was amended by the General Committee.
Oh, okay.
I wanted it easier to understand by the public. And so, do you have that language,
I can get it.
Mr. Yeah, I want to make sure that because probably the most important part of this ordinance is what's going to be read by citizens.
Lance, it's on
when they
page
vote.
36. We've got it. We've got it in our packet. So, Eddie, if you look on page, Alderman Robertson, if you look on page 36, is that the wording that we need?
36, under tab 36.
Behind tab 3, page 36.
Committee recommendation.
6. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that is the language that we need to substitute.
Okay.
For, thank you,
Okay.
Alderman Dixon, for section 7.
Okay.
The second paragraph. So I guess I'd like to move that amendment as well.
So we have a motion
Yeah.
to amend wording on second paragraph under section 7. Do we have a second from
Second,
Alderman
second.
Dixon? Okay. So if you look on page 35, under section 7, the second paragraph, we're going to remove that second paragraph and replace it with what's on page 36 under committee recommendation that's in quotes. Shall the Hendersonville Investment in the Future Act, which increases the city's sales tax by half a penny per dollar for 10 years for the purpose of funding public safety, infrastructure, parks, and paving, be approved?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so we have a motion and a second to substitute that language. Any other discussion on that? Good. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Thank you. Alderman Robertson.
Yeah, thank you. And I first want to apologize to this board. I just finished reading a book called The Gettysburg Gospel. It's a story about the Gettysburg Address. The Gettysburg Address was 2 minutes, which was preceded by Edward Everett's dialogue of 2 hours. In my comments on this ordinance, I wish I had the wisdom and brevity of Abraham Lincoln, because my comments are not 2 minutes. But I do think it's important for the record that some of these things be said, not necessarily maybe for this board, but for the public. So please indulge me, if you would. Thank you, Mayor. The Hendersonville Investment in the Future Act requests our citizens to self-determine by referendum whether additional revenues are allowed for critical investments in the city for paving, public safety, infrastructure, and parks by increasing the sales tax by a half a penny a dollar. In real-world terms, this small increase would result in an additional quarter for a $50 meal at a Hendersonville restaurant. Again, this increase would not affect the price of gasoline. The latest budget projections and revenue estimates, along with the needed critical expenditures for the next fiscal year, forecast what I refer to as a budgetary storm for the city. We have seen this coming, and our first response appropriately has been to try to cut cost. We have constantly pushed the staff to economize and to be more efficient. We have reduced, and just as a summary, we have reduced garbage service to once a week. We have placed a hiring freeze on new positions. We have cut paving 35%. We have not funded replacement vehicles for our first responders. We have not funded new firefighters for our soon-to-be open Station Number 7. We have not added new capital projects to deal with an aging and inadequate infrastructure. But these cuts alone may not be sufficient for the coming storm, because they don't account for an expected 100% increase in the cost of garbage service next year and the overall effect of inflation in all purchases made by this city. It is my opinion that even greater cuts, some of which are even too painful to mention, must be made next year if we don't act. And since almost 60% of our operating budget and 71% of our city employees is for public safety, the cuts I reference, in my opinion, could not entirely exclude our first responders. Ravaged by high inflation, along with the pressing need to address our aging infrastructure and our snarling traffic, the path, I believe, is clear. And even with the most optimistic sales revenue projections for Costco, the budget outlook is still dire. Unless we act soon, next year we will be faced with a Hobson's choice by either having to increase property taxes or drastically further reducing city services. And I don't like either of these options. Since being an alderman, I have never voted for a property tax increase, and I don't want to start now. A property increase, in my opinion, is not the solution. But there is another way forward. Cities basically have two ways to address revenue shortages: a property tax or a sales tax. More and more cities and counties are electing a small increase in sales tax to address critical needs. For example, 57% of counties and 69% of cities in Tennessee have elected for a small increase in sales tax. But for us to consider a sales tax will require us to act quickly. For state law requires increases in sales tax to be approved by the people in a referendum. In fact, the citizens of White House a few years ago passed such a referendum to increase their sales tax. The Hendersonville Investment in the Future Act has 4 distinguishing features that I would like to point out, and these are unique among actions that other cities and counties have taken. First of all, it promotes what I call participatory democracy by placing the decision in the hands of the electorate rather than politicians. It is a variation of home rule. Second, it earmarks the revenues generated from the increase to paving, public safety, infrastructure, and parks alone. These are the only areas the new revenue can be spent. And third, the act outlines a sunset provision, meaning that this increase goes away in 10 years unless reapproved by city voters. Politicians or future BOMA cannot extend the life of the sales tax beyond 10 years. That authority only is vested in the people will have that authority. This unique feature, in my opinion, helps ensure accountability and make sure this increase is not perpetual, but limited in duration. And fourth, this act ensures transparency. Each year after approval, the mayor, in his or her proposed budget to BOMA, must specify how the increase will be appropriated. So what are the possibilities for a better Hendersonville if the citizens approve the Hendersonville Investment in the Future Act? First of all, it will help us maintain a state-of-the-art police and fire department by providing them the equipment and vehicles needed for our city to provide the most essential service, public safety. Our city has been ranked numerous times in the top 50 safest cities in the U.S. This approval by the approval of a small sales tax increase by the citizens will help us ensure the needed investments for our first responders to maintain this status. Second, it will increase the number of miles city streets are paved each year. One of the most frequent complaints I receive is city paving. Right now, Alderman Waters and I receive almost constant requests from Lawson Point, from Creekwood, from Glen Oaks for paving. We have made progress, but it's been slow. And with inflation, we've had to cut paving 35%. Voice isn't what it used to be. This act will make infrastructure improvements to improve our traffic flow and reduce congestion. Our infrastructure was built at least 30 to 40 years ago, and is not adequate for today's demands. We constantly hear citizens complain about it. This act could provide funds for improving Sanders Ferry, Stop 30, New Shackle Road, and Exit 8, among others. The traditional model this city has used for decades has been for developers to pay for infrastructure improvements. I believe these days are over. You see, developers are only willing to make such improvements if greater density or variation from current codes is allowed for their project. We saw this play out in the developer request for high-density, high-rise development on Sanders Ferry Road for the promise of improving Sanders Ferry Road. Over and over and over and over, our citizens have complained about this quid pro quo. I believe a new model for infrastructure improvements is needed for our city. This means that the city must make the critical improvements from tax-generated revenues. Park improvements for our youth. Investments in our parks are investments in our youth. It does me good to drive by our fields and facilities and see them full of our youth learning good sportsmanship. Some say these investments indicate misplaced priorities and should be cut. I disagree with this supposition. Participating in team sports helped make me the man I am today. Our society direly needs to relearn the lessons of sportsmanship and teamwork. Several of our park facilities are in dire need of improvements and have been delayed over the years. Every ward, nook, and cranny of this city will see benefits from this act if our citizens approve it. With this board's approval, it will be up to the citizens to determine the future of our city. Our job will be to equip our citizens with accurate information as to the long-term benefit of voting for the increase and the consequence of voting against the increase. It is basically two different visions for our city. And remember, tourists and non-city residents will help contribute to city services through a sales tax. As with term limits, I am confident that our citizens, armed with the facts and understanding the consequences, will vote that our city is worth the investment for the future. I humbly ask this board's positive vote to let our citizens decide what kind of future we will pass on to future generations. In closing, recently my wife and I went to lunch at a local Mexican restaurant. I got the Speedy Gonzalez. The bill for that meal was $21. If our citizens approve this referendum, the bill for that meal would have cost an additional dime. I say let the people vote on the future of our city. Thank you for your time and attention. Thank you, Mayor.
Alderman Robertson, thank you. Alderman Waters.
Thank you, Mayor. I spent 2 hours today typing all this up, and I was funny. I think he's covered everything I typed, so I'm not going to be repetitious and go over it again. And I do appreciate it, Brother Robertson. It's great. It took more than 2 minutes, but that's okay. Only thing I want to add to the board, I hope that the people that I've seen on TV talking about this, you know what I'm talking about, the social media, talking, saying things they don't know nothing about, and they don't know what's in this ordinance. I hope they listen to and watch TV and hear his comments, or either, I hope it's in the paper, because I'm surprised that they're not here tonight the way they talked on Facebook. So I'm not going to go into all of it because he covered everything, and I appreciate his remarks. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Waters. I want to add a couple comments. I'm voting for this because I voted for the ballot referendum for term limits. As I gave our residents the opportunity by my vote and by sponsoring that to have the opportunity to vote on term limits. I didn't vote for term limits. I voted for the opportunity for the citizens to have term limits. We're not voting to raise the sales tax. we're voting for the opportunity for the citizens to raise sales tax and do it in this way and designate it for these type projects and for only a term of 10 years. That term of 10 years is going to cause us a little bit of heartache. And this is what's going to happen, is if we pass this on first reading, Tennessee law requires us to seek approval from the Tennessee Department of Revenue on the wording on the referendum. This isn't their typical boilerplate wording. Since we added the 10-year sunset provision, I don't know when we will be able to take up second reading. It has to be approved, the wording has to be approved by the Department of Revenue before we can take up second reading. So we're doing something smart by getting ahead and moving this quickly on this. But again, we're not raising sales tax. What we're doing is we're giving the opportunity for the citizens to raise sales tax versus another type of tax to provide for projects that we need in the city. It was interesting that just last week I heard from somebody who doesn't live in Hendersonville, doesn't pay property tax in Hendersonville, but he was unhappy about the traffic in Drakes Creek Park. Wanted us to do something about the traffic in Drakes Creek Park. I answered his email, and he certainly understands the situation. When somebody says they want us to do something about fill in the blank, what they're saying is, we want you to spend some money on that. So I am sure that since he lives close to Hendersonville and since his, at least one of his kids plays sports in Drakes Creek Park, that he spends some money in some of our sales tax collecting businesses. This is a way that if this is passed by the voters, that he and other people from outside Hendersonville can help provide better infrastructure, parks, public safety, and paving. The Department of Revenue, when they come back, we might have to make some changes. We might have to make some amendments when we get to the second reading. So I just want to give you a heads up on that. But I think it's important that we pass first reading now, get the Department of Revenue to take a look at it. We don't know how long that will be, and then we can come back and address second reading after that. Thank you all. Alderman Peterson.
Thank you, Mayor. I also appreciate us allowing the voters to decide this ordinance for us, but I did have a question. I see that if this passes, it needs to go to who?
Department of Revenue.
Department of Revenue, and then it comes back to us to clean it up a little bit. When would it go to the legislators?
So it doesn't. This doesn't have to go to legislators. They've already. There's state law already in place that allows us to do this just with a vote from us, as long as the Department of Revenue.
Oh,
signs
okay.
off.
So we can turn this around pretty quickly.
So with term limits, you're right. We did have to have it act of the General Assembly.
Okay, I got it. The question I'm getting to is, when do you see this going on a ballot?
As I said about 2 hours ago, I just don't know. I wish I did.
Because I read in the paper, as probably most of you do if anybody gets the paper, the Election Commission stated that the earliest it could get on the ballot would be February 17th. And it would be a cost to the city of $188,000. This is according to the Election Commission, as stated in the newspaper last week. However, they also said if we waited 17 days until March the 5th, that's when early voting starts, and it would be at no cost to the city. So I would like for us to make sure that we can do this at no cost to the city. I don't want to spend $188,000. I think that's unnecessary. And I just wanted to make that comment. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Peterson. Alderman Collins.
I hate to open a can of worms when our meeting could be over soon, but I'm going to. My concern is that the sunset portion of this is going to slow it down such that instead of making the March primary, this ends up on the August general ballot, which is after our budget cycle, which would mean that we either raise property taxes so that our budget is balanced, or make drastic cuts, which could include laying people off until this August election. And then if it doesn't pass, I think it's a nightmare scenario for this to not be on the budget until, not be on the, go up for election until August. And although I know completely that this is not the intent, the feedback I've been getting is that nobody believes that a tax ever goes away. There's just a disbelief in that, and it's creating some mistrust with people because they just don't understand it. So I would like to make a motion to remove the sunset clause.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Okay,
Appears to be no second. Alderman Collins.
thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Dixon.
Thank you, Mayor. I too hope we can get it on the March ballot, and I'm very happy that we're talking about giving the citizens the choice in raising sales tax. But I really think, I'm really concerned as well about how we communicate this. I think we need a really solid plan on how we roll out any language associated with this referendum. And that's my recommendation. I'd be willing to help with whoever in the city would want help with that.
Okay. Alderman Dixon, Casey has put some information on the website, but we know that more is going to be needed. It's pretty much the skeleton bit of information so far, so that's helpful.
Yeah, we're going to have to go beyond our website.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? So we've got an amendment for a couple items that you saw on page 31 and 32, I'm sorry, 35 and 36. All those in favor of approving first reading of ordinance 2023-20 as we've amended it tonight, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Thank you. Do I have a motion to take a 5-minute break? We have a motion from Alderman Garza and a second from Alderman Sassy. All in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. See you all in 5 minutes. On, Jason, or are we already on? We're already on. Guys, we're already on. So we are back, and next we have first reading ordinance 2023-21. This is an ordinance amending the Hendersonville Municipal Code, Title 14, Chapter 1, regarding video recording of municipal planning commission meetings. Alderman Martin. Motion?
Motion.
Okay.
Second.
Wait.
We're on 4.
Item 4.
5 was withdrawn.
Second.
Hold on. Okay, so we have a motion from Alderman Martin, a second from Alderman Sassy.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, okay. Hold on one second. We voted on the amendment, and then we voted on the whole ordinance, right? Okay, we'll check.
Yes. This 2320 was the last one, right?
Yes.
There was 2 amendments.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, so we
I'm gonna check one more time. Jason, do you believe we voted on the on the main motion of the ordinance? Okay, thank you. Okay, so we're good to go. What was that? Okay, so we have a motion from Alderman Martin, a second from Alderman Sassy. Alderman Martin, would you like to speak on this?
Yeah, so this is just an ordinance that will articulate, that the planning commission meetings will be recorded, and that will show the site plans and exhibits that we're talking about, similar to how we've been doing. It just codifies it. Appreciate y'all's support.
Thank you, Alderman Martin. Alderman Waters.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Any other discussion? Oh, Alderman Dixon.
So I'm reading here under the fiscal impact of this, that we're looking for a third-party vendor or to hire another staff member who's versed in AV. What is that going to do to our IT? What's the impact to the strain on our IT department for this?
Michael, you want to take that, or Jesse? Go ahead. Alderman Martin, sorry I called you Michael.
It's no problem. So that note is really geared towards if we were to expand other meetings that we would record.
So just doing planning this?
Yeah, this is just on planning, and this is something that we already do on a meeting kind of frequency basis. So there should not be any cost.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of first reading ordinance 2023-21, say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. I'm a no on that one. So that passes with a majority vote. Next, we have item 5 has been withdrawn. Now we're on item 6. This is reading a resolution 2023-29, a resolution establishing a code of conduct for members of the board, or mayor and alderman. I so move. We have a second from Alderman Waters. Alderman Robertson.
I would like, Mayor, if you could kind of interpret item number 13.
Okay.
What you envision, so we can have some legislative history on it.
Okay. So item 13, help me, that was the item that was suggested by the general committee, is that correct? Okay. Okay. So initially, when I put these together from comments and input from aldermen, former aldermen, residents, I think some staff as well, it just had 12. And when we went to general committee, this was something that was mentioned to me. And I want to make sure that we understand that if a reporter or an individual or a resident calls an alderman and asks your opinion of something, absolutely you should answer that question. Absolutely. If they call and are looking for minutes from a previous meeting, or if they're looking for a chart or a graph, send them to us. That makes much more sense. What we don't want to happen is they're getting different information, they're getting different answers to the same question about facts that should be coming out of City Hall. We want to do our best to make sure that doesn't happen. That if they have a question specific about information on city items, that they call Casey or me. If they call me asking, why Alderman Robertson voted the way he did, I'm absolutely going to say, you need to talk to Alderman Robertson.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. That conforms with what I believe the intent of this is, but we won't be here all the time. There'll be other boards, there'll be other mayors, and so I would like to amend that just a little bit.
Okay.
Which I refer to me is a little too strong. What I would like to do is change item 13 to read as follows. Inform the mayor's office or the public information officer of any media inquiries for city information. So we are informing the mayor, so I don't want a future mayor to say, well, you can't talk to, you got to refer those to me or my office. So just, to me, it makes it a little more clear that we are to inform the mayor. So if I get a media inquiry, I will inform you or our PIO of the request for my opinion or for me to comment.
Okay.
So that, you know.
Can you read that again?
Okay. Inform the mayor's office or the public information officer of any media inquiries for city information.
Do we have a second? Second. Oh, we have a second from Alderman Peterson. I think I had that voice correct. Did I have that voice correct? Okay. Okay, we need to discuss just that amendment right now until we have a vote on that. Okay, so Alderman Robertson, anything else on this?
No, sir.
Thank you. Alderman Bergdorf on the amendment? No, sir. Thank you. Alderman Martin on the amendment? Thank you. Alderman Sassy on the amendment? Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you. Can you rephrase, or can you restate that for me? So I'm clear on it.
Okay, it will read as follows. Number 13. Inform the mayor's office or public information officer of any media inquiries for city information.
What is regarded as city information?
Media inquiries.
Can we add the word recommend in there? Recommend informing, because if the media is contacting me, it still seems too vague to me. I'm not going to know if the media contacts me for a comment on a particular issue, and I'm thinking to myself, do I need to inform the mayor on this? Is this a requirement? Is this an expectation? But which I should never have to. I should be focused on the task at hand at that immediate moment. I shouldn't have to be considering whether I'm following the rules of this amendment when deciding on if when I'm in the midst of talking to this. So, I mean, I understand the heart behind wanting this in there so we can all be clear. And I'm happy to add this information on here, but I think the wording needs to be updated just a little bit as a recommendation instead of a requirement.
Thank you, Alderman
That's
Sassy.
my ask. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Waters on the amendment? No. Okay. Okay. So we don't appear to have anybody else wishing to speak on the amendment, so are we ready for a vote on the amendment? If I'm doing something wrong, please shout out. Okay. Well, no. So we're going to do this electronically. Thank you, Jason. So what we're voting on is the motion made by Alderman Robertson and seconded, in that we change the wording on item 13, that we inform the mayor's office or the city's PIO of any media inquiries for city information. So we're going to vote on that. We're going to do it electronically. All in favor, please press your green button. Those opposed, press the red one. Missing somebody. There we go. So that passes 9 to, can you hold it there, please, Jason? We have a abstention from Alderman Bergdorf. Voting no is Alderman Skidmore, Martin, and Sassy. Voting yes, Alderman Peterson, Garza, Dixon, Goodwin, Garden, Collins, Waters, Robertson, and myself. So now we're back on the main motion. Alderman Robertson, I'll come back to you, and then if y'all can go ahead and press your buttons again down to my left, I'll get you all back in line. Alderman Robertson, anything else? Appreciate that. Alderman Bergdorf, you were next. Go ahead.
Hi, thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I have spoke out against this code of conduct before. I spoke out against it at the general committee meeting. I'm of the opinion that we're grown adults and we should respect each other at all times. And I'm going to hearken back to Alderman Robertson's prayer today, opening us up. Please allow me to not say anything unbecoming to your ears. I may paraphrase that, but that is something that we should have a charge to, not only to each other, but to our Creator. And I feel like that is the highest code of conduct we should attain to. I don't believe it needs to be on the books. I didn't live through the last integration of this BOMA, which I understand was quite heated at times. But I think that I think we need to move forward and allow this dust to settle. Asking us to sign on to a code of conduct, it is a recommendation. We could just call it a recommendation. Like I've said before in the general committee meeting, it is a job description for being a good alderman and a good neighbor. I think it goes a long way to that. But I don't feel it's a necessary part of city business. But that's just, I'm going to speak to that, and thank you all very much.
Alderman Bergdorf, thank you. Alderman Waters, you're next. Are you, okay, go ahead.
Was you, Alderman Burdock, was you referring to one of these numbers when you, in your speech just now?
The whole thing in general. The whole code of conduct.
Well, remind me your bottom line. What was you saying at the bottom?
My bottom line is I don't feel it's necessary legislation.
You don't feel like we need to do this?
No, sir, I do not. I humbly submit that.
You should have been here 5 years ago.
That's what I was saying. That's what I was saying.
Okay. I know some of my, like the older people on here, I don't mean in age, but I've had several calls from TV stations wanting to know something about, heard about Ward 2, doing this and doing that. They wanted me to give my opinion on that. I said, no. I didn't refer to nobody. I just said, no, I don't. So, yes, we need to have a guideline, because you're going to get caught in a pinch when something like this happens. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Waters. Alderman Peterson.
Thank you, Mayor. I have an amendment.
Go ahead.
Number 3. I would like to add promptly return calls, emails, and city-related communications from residents, comma, city staff, and/or elected officials.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
You have a second? Second from Alderman Dixon. Alderman Peterson, you want to say anything else on that?
I just think it would be courteous of the board to return emails that might come from the city, as well as residents or anyone else that's reaching out. If we could, return that in a amount of time that would be appropriate and not just simply ignore calls and emails. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion. Who is the second from? Alderman Dixon, okay. So now we need to speak on this. Alderman Sassy on this?
Sure.
Okay, go ahead, Alderman Sassy.
Never miss an opportunity. I agree with that, with everything except calls, because emails are on the record and calls are not. So I would ask that maybe this add as a separate item. That's all.
Appreciate that, Alderman Sassy. Alderman Waters on this item? On this amendment?
My chairman and general committee, because we talked about number 3, and I think I discussed it in general committee where I get calls saying they won't do this. I call the city, I get a recording. I never hear from them. So, and that's why I feel personally when they call me, I act on it. I go to it. And so many times they're calling about a problem. I called City Hall and they got a recording and haven't heard it. That was 2 days ago. So I think that's and the emails, yeah, I don't think the emails is necessary. I think the calls is very important. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Waters. Anybody else wish to speak on this amendment? We're going to do this electronically again. So the amendment is adding words to item number 3. What we would do is we would remove the semicolon and place a comma. So it'd say communications from residents, comma, city staff and/or elected officials, period. Sorry, semicolon. Any other discussion? All those in favor, press the green button. Those opposed, press the red one. Not quite yet. There we go. Huh? Oh, Jason said not yet. Okay. There we go.
I'm glad because I'm going to change my mind.
So we need one more person. Oh, there we go. Okay. So that passes with majority vote. Voting no are Alderman Bergdorf and Sassy. Jason, leave it up for another second, please. Voting yes, Alderman Skidmore, Peterson, Martin, Garza, Dixon, Goodwin, Garten, Collins, Waters, Robertson, and me. Good. Okay. Okay. I think Alderman Skidmore, I think you're next.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
This is on the resolution.
Go ahead.
Is that correct?
It's on the main motion.
Main motion, yes. Well, I guess you can say y'all get ready for me. Coming to your code of conduct committee or whatever. Because as like I said before, I do not mind admitting this. I'm proud of it. I'm very proud of it, that I have committed every offense on this piece of paper. And I am proud to tell you that I will continue to do it because I represent Ward 1 in the city of Hendersonville. I am very passionate on how I feel things. This whole resolution is borderline censorship as far as I'm concerned. And if any other alderman wants to call me a lying, cheating dog on this board, you go right on ahead. I may not agree with what you say, but I will always, and this includes everybody that comes to this podium, or even when I'm knocking on your door, I may not agree with what you say when you call me a lying, cheating dog, but I'll always defend your right to say it. Because this is not Hendersonville. This is the country of the United States of America. This is what this country is all about. To speak what you feel and how you, whether it's right or wrong is immaterial to me. If you're right, you're right. If you're wrong, I'll say you're wrong and I'll tell you why you're wrong. Whether you're passionate about something or whether you're not, you're just kind of low key and that's the way you are, that's fine with me. I don't care if you yell at me. Because if you feel one way or the other, that's the way you should be. So when I look at these things, I'm not going to say that I sit here and chuckle. I kind of chuckle at myself. I go, oh yeah, I remember back in 1999 when I did that one. Or I remember that one. 2017, I definitely did that one. I'll tell you all about it because I remember it. But the thing about it is when you represent your constituency in the city of Hendersonville, I don't know about the rest of the board. I'm proud of this whole board that I serve with, and I've served 99% of the boards since 1987, and I honestly, and I've been asked that. I've been asked that at Kroger's before or Walmart when they said, "Well, Mark, you've been on there for, I'm not going to even tell you how many years, but a long time." And they say, who's the best board? And I say, the one we've got now. Because this board is insightful, it's very knowledgeable, and they're smart. Far smarter than me sometimes. And that's why I call some of them. I say, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? But the bottom line is, let me get back. I'm starting to ramble on a minute. But the code of conduct, and I'll tell you all right now, if somebody that sits on this board, as long as I'm here, on this board, and you get brought up on the code of conduct, I'll defend you. I'll come to every code of conduct committee, and I'll sit right there at that podium or right there in the chairs or wherever we have it in what committee room and defend you. Whether you like me or not, I'm here for you. Because that's what you were elected to do, is to represent people. And just because maybe somebody on the other side or even right next to me does not like the way I defend my ward or the city, do you think I'm going to lose any sleep over that? I won't be mad at you. Listen, every time we come off of here, I could go have a cup of coffee with any of you on this board. And that's the honest to God's truth, and I think you know that. But as far as doing this petty stuff about during meetings demonstrate respect to the board members, you know what? That's at the ballot box. If people don't think that I respect somebody, then they can let me know about it, or they can call me. I've had emails, people said, Mark, honest to God, you kind of went overboard on this particular issue in here. And I've had them. I can show them to you. And then I've had other ones that saying, you didn't hit them hard enough. You should have went after them more than what you did. So the code of conduct, I think, is a little much for the Board of Mayor and Aldermen in Hendersonville, Tennessee. It really is. But if you so choose to do it, you can rest assured, and I look forward to defending my right to say it. And if I offend you, I have always said this. I've said it to the mayor when he and I have gotten into it. I've said it to former members that sat on this board that represented a cause or maybe represented things that I disagreed with. I apologize if I've upset you. That is not my intention at all. But I am passionate about this city. I mean, my God, I'm not going to go. I could go somewhere else, but with that statement and get a little melancholy. But I have been on this board for a while, and I will not change my pattern of behavior for a code of conduct that I've already broken these rules countless times. I could sit here, probably I'll go home tonight and talk to my mom and my sister and say, I got this now. I'm going to read this resolution to you. And they'll start laughing because they'll say, and I know Mom, who served as the vice mayor of Hendersonville, and also a wonderful alderman whom I respect a great deal and admire greatly, has probably broken all these rules too, but I'm going to probably talk to her tonight and say, this is what they've passed. I think we're a little better than that. I think we're a lot smarter and more knowledgeable and more respectful to each other, regardless of what you think that I've been disrespectful to somebody. So I'm not voting for this resolution tonight, nor will I ever vote for something like this. I voted for this, my colleague here from Ward 2's amendment, because I thought it was right, what he was doing, and I supported that. But everything else on here I have voted against, and I will continue to vote against it. I want you to say what you believe on this board. What you say and what you believe is so important to the people of Hendersonville when they either watch it on TV or they read it in the newspaper. It's so important to let your people know how you feel. So I would ask you to vote against this resolution and continue on of the good work that we're doing on this board, because we have things that are coming up that are more important than a doggone code of conduct. So thank you, Mayor, for your time, and thank you, Board, for your time, and I'd ask you to disapprove this resolution. Thank you, Mayor.
Alderman Skidmore, thank you. Alderman Sassy.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have an amendment that I'd like to propose on this. Reading through these over the weekend, when I spoke at our last meeting about this, I said it's about respect. And I truly believe this board deserves to respect each other. And needs to respect each other, needs to respect the citizens, and I feel like by entertaining some of these, like speaking, there's a few of them here, when you're using profanity or being belligerent, you're basically being a bully. That's not conducive to a strong and successful government. But there's three of them on here which I don't believe align with the level of respect and are more of a duty that is required of us, which we will probably regularly not satisfy because we're not happy with something going on, and we should be allowed to express those opinions. It's not about, you can still do it respectfully. But there's three of them on here that I would like to propose we remove. Number one, provide a positive impression of Hendersonville. I love this city, but I'm not always going to agree with what happens here, and so I can't always be positive about what's going on. So I would like to have that one removed. Number 5, attend other committee meetings which might be helpful to becoming familiar with issues and ideas pertinent to city. While that's important, I don't think that should be an expectation or an obligation. We're assigned to specific committees, and then we allow the representative of those committees to speak here and share what happened. That's so then we can develop our opinions on what happened at those board meetings. So I don't think that should be an expectation. However, I do want to point out on number 4, it does say attend your own meetings, right? Attend the meetings, the board workshops, assigned standing committees that you serve as a liaison on. That's important. You've been assigned those. That's the expectation. You should attend those. Number 5, I don't think should be applied. And then I was going to say number 13, but I think I'm going to leave that one off. So just those two, number 1 and number 5, and I so move.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
We have a second from Alderman Martin.
Question.
Alderman Robertson.
question on the amendment.
Okay.
Alderman Sassy, if this board removes those two items, will you vote for it?
Yeah, you're on. You're on.
I turned myself off, sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, I will.
All right, I would like to ask also Alderman Martin, if this board removes those, will you vote for the code of conduct?
If our city attorney tells us that the amendment to number 13 isn't a violation of First Amendment and a restraint on free speech.
That was my next question.
Okay.
That was my next question. So I'll ask the question, Mr. Ray, because when we took an oath to swear allegiance to both the sovereign state of Tennessee's Constitution and also the U.S. Constitution. So in your reviewing this, is there anything in this code of conduct that infringes on the freedom of speech rights guaranteed by the constitutions of both the state and U.S.?
How was, if I may ask, how was 13 amended again?
Okay. And that's going to read it.
Inform the mayor's office or the PIO of any media inquiries for city information.
I don't think that would be violative of the First Amendment.
Do you see anything else?
So, yeah, anything else?
Yeah, that's what I was just going back over.
Yeah, take your time. While you're looking, it's not unusual for legislative bodies to pass a code of conduct to try to ensure decorum or good conduct during meetings. The U.S. Senate just changed their code of conduct to allow hoodies and shorts, for their members to wear hoodies and shorts. We don't go anywhere near that level in these codes of conduct. To me, I don't believe it infringes our First Amendment rights, freedom of speech. I believe that it tries to lay out a pattern that will establish good decorum. I don't think it goes too far. I don't think it's government overreach. It's a resolution. It's not an ordinance, so there's not a penalty. It's just a policy statement. And I think it would be very helpful for new members as they come on this board to have this and to have kind of an expectation of what is the decorum expectations. So with all due respect, and I love Alderman Skidmore, no doubt he cut his eye teeth on these benches that he serves on. He's been here long, and I admire and respect everything he says. But on this, my dear friend, we must differ, because I believe that it's appropriate for a legislative body to come up, not too overreach, but just to try to find the right mix, and I think we have. So, General Counsel Ray, have you come to an opinion?
I do not believe it infringes on any constitutional rights, especially with the qualifier at the beginning that says to the extent possible and reasonable to do these things. So I would not think that this would infringe on constitutional rights.
So I'll redirect my question to Alderman Martin. Based on that, if we approve removing these two items, would you vote in the positive?
Yes, I'll vote for the positive.
Okay, so I encourage my colleagues, because I think it's important for us to find some consensus on this. So I intend to support removing those two items. I think it's important for us to move forward, and I'm willing to do that. And I encourage my colleagues to consider also voting for Alderman Sassy's amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Robertson. Alderman Goodwin.
On Alderman Sassy's amendment, I just have a few things to say briefly, and the resolution altogether. I think it's sad that we have to have a code of conduct, but I think we need it. And to remove, attend other committee meetings and workshops and all that could be helpful. it's sad when we have workshops here to make us all better aldermen, and we have MTAS training to help us and go over rules and laws, and we don't have new aldermen that show up. I think that would make us all better aldermen. It would explain all the laws that we need to be following, and I think it would cut down and make us a more cohesive board, and I'm just really disappointed when people don't attend that. Thank you.
Alderman Goodwin, thank you. Alderman Robertson, Alderman Martin, Alderman Sassy, I appreciate your comments. Number one is probably most important to me. That's the one that I think it makes it. The other ones are helpful, but number one is most important to me. Any other discussion? So we're going to go electronically. Jason, so we have a motion on the floor to amend Resolution 2023-29 by removing item 1 and item 5. All those in favor of removing 1 and 5, press the green button. Those wishing to keep items 1 and 5, press the red one. Okay, leave it out there for a second, please. So that fails. Those voting in favor, Alderman Bergdorf, Skidmore, Martin, Sassy, and Robertson. Those voting against, Alderman Peterson, Garza, Dixon, Goodwin, Garten, Collins, Waters, and myself. So that fails. We're back on the main motion. Alderman Sassy, did you have another amendment? Was it? No. Okay, thank you. I booted some people out of the queue a while ago when we got onto amendments. I need y'all to press the button if you want to speak. Alderman Peterson.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to sponsor this resolution.
Without objection, we're going to add Alderman Peterson's name as a sponsor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? So we have an amendment to item 3, and that's to add from residents, comma, city staff, comma, and/or elected officials, semicolon. And then item 13 has been changed to remove the current verbiage and change it to inform the mayor's office or the PIO of any immediate inquiries for city information. No, 13 has been changed with the wording inform the mayor's office or the PIO of any media inquiries for city information. Item 13 is still there, but it's different. Okay? Jason, you ready for us? So we're on the main motion to Resolution 2023-29 as amended. Those in favor, press the green button. Those opposed, press the red one. So that passes 9-4. Those voting in favor, Alderman Peterson, Garza, Dixon, Goodwin, Garten, Collins, Waters, and Robertson. Those against, Alderman Bergdorf, Skidmore, Martin, and Sassy. Thank you, Jason. Hold on. We're good? Mm-hmm. Okay, we're good. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Nat. Next, we have other agenda items, reports. Chairman Dixon, Finance Committee.
Thank you, Mayor. Our committee, the Finance Committee met this evening. All of the committee members were present. We had 3 ordinance and resolutions. The first one was our the 2023-20, which was an ordinance requesting citizens to determine by election whether to adequately fund public safety infrastructure parks and paving, which we've talked about extensively here tonight. And it was a unanimous vote to push it to BOMA. Then we had a reading of ordinance 2023-23, an ordinance amending our 2023-11 to reflect our final year adjustments to the city's 2024 fiscal year budget. Basically, the finance department's just trying to true up actual projected project funds and the balances of those and pull any deviations into this year's fiscal budget. That passed unanimously. We have reading of the resolution 2023-35, a resolution to revise and update the fund balance and reserve policy for the city of Hendersonville. Basically, we were creating a new reserve fund for public safety. And those last 2 ordinance, with the ordinance and the resolution, will come to BOMA, next BOMA meeting. Then we reviewed our sales tax analysis. It's nearly flat over our last year's funding, so come on sales tax, all I can say, because it's looking difficult. Yeah. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Dixon. Chairman Dixon. Chairman Skidmore, Public Works Committee.
Yes, thank you very much, Mayor. We had our meeting tonight. We had a pretty lengthy agenda, but we got through it. Next week, or in 2 weeks, I guess, when we meet again, we're going to be proposing, or not us, but you'll be seeing in your packet 4 resolutions by Alderman Peterson, which all passed our committee unanimously.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And the first reading was Resolution 2023-36. It was a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the Broken Paddle Outfitters for services in the city park. And what that is we'll go over it in 2 weeks, where they can, you can rent kayaks at certain areas around the park, you know, with the lake. And we'll go talk about that in 2 weeks more in depth, but I just want to give you the highlights since it is the committee report. Then we had a reading resolution ratifying the Parks Department on background checks on which was approved by the Parks Board. We got that one passed, which we'll be voting on. Then we had another resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Live Barn for providing streaming video services in the inline hockey rinks of Volunteer Park area. And that's just, a safety issue that, well, there's two things with it. One, a safety issue that when the park is closed, that where people won't go in and vandalize, and if they are, they've got cameras to focus on the vandals that are doing that. And then also, it's for grandparents and moms and dads that maybe can't make the hockey, that they can watch it on the internet. So that's a nice thing, a nice gesture to do that. But there will be, and we'll get over it, there is a fee for all that, but we'll get that in 2 weeks. Also, we have another resolutions we'll be voting on for authorizing the mayor to, you got a lot of authorizations here, Jamie. Authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement to host the baseball and softball state championships, the TMSAA championships. We'll bring that back to you as well. And I'm just really glad that the Parks Department, or the Parks Department was able to re-up with those guys, because that's always a fun time for the children of our community. In the state, because they come from everywhere. We did get to the other agenda items, which is dealing, as our trash collection update. Our misses are up, but that's actually normal for this time of year because it's summer. It was summer, and it was hot. The past collection update we were having, but now although, they said that the first day of fall was the other day and it was 90 degrees, but that's Tennessee, man. That's the weather in Tennessee. So we're hoping that our collections will go back to normal down. But normally, to be honest with you, during the summertime, our collections are normally, our misses on collections are normally up. So let's just keep our fingers crossed and hope for October will be a lot better. Saunders Ferry Greenway, I want to let you know that we still have a completion date of November 17th, and we are on budget. So that's the main thing for me, is to let the citizens of Hendersonville and this board know that we are on budget. One to let you know, and I do want to thank the mayor's office, there's been much improvement on the Mustang Lane school traffic. We've had an issue. I know I've had a lot of calls on that, and I know some of the other aldermen, you all have as well. And I want to thank you, Mayor, and for getting that situation improved. I know you've been working hard on that. Want to tell you about the light synchronization program. Oh, yeah. Light synchronization program. We are installing the fiber next week, and so that's a good thing for us. And so that process is moving along. I do want to talk about lemon brush collection. I know that we've been doing a lot better about that. Our normal time of turnaround is 4 to 6 weeks, but we are now, so we're not there yet, but we are close. And our time frame now is 6 to 8 weeks, turnaround time on that. But as time goes by and we get more knuckle boom working or getting it here into town, because it's not here yet, and getting some more employees to do that, it'll go down. But I hope with what we've got, because they've been working so hard, those guys, that we can get it down October and November back to normal. And then we'll have to address freezing time for December, January, and February. So the process is, the wolf is always at the door. I'll just say that. Other than that, Mayor, we had a good meeting, and that's all. I'll leave it at that.
Chairman Skidmore, thank you. I think you praised a new record of people. That's wonderful.
Oh, well, yeah. I guess that's that new ordinance we just passed. That's what it was.
Must be.
Yeah.
Good work. We're going to hear from our COO now.
All right.
Andy Gilly, if you'd come up, please. And Jason, if you'd put that video recording up, just don't play it yet. This is a video recording that we received of a resident who was just very pleased with Parks Department, and I don't feel right if Andy's not up here while this recording is going on. And I just want to personally thank Andy and his team. They do a lot of work. They solve a lot of problems before it gets to this board. A lot of the work that Andy does isn't seen, and that's a good thing, because when we hear about it all the time, that's not always the type of reports we want to get. So between all the tourism activities, the park activities, and just all the day-to-day stuff, Andy does a really good job, and I really appreciate working with you. So Jason, if you'd go ahead and play that voicemail we received. And we receive things like this often, but we're just going to go ahead and play this one at Boma.
This is Candy Marshall. I rented out Pavilion 8 last night for a celebration of life. And I just want to thank you so much I told everybody we were going to be sitting on picnic tables. And the picnic tables were pushed back, and there were chairs there. And I just want to thank you so much for being so considerate and thoughtful in doing that. That meant an awful lot to us. Thank you so much. Thank you. You made a difference.
So Andy, that's the way that Andy leads his team, by example, and they just do a lot of things like that. The mayor and I get a lot of praise for Andy and his team, so we really appreciate that, and thank you for all the work that you do, Andy. Appreciate that. Next, if you would put up the slide. Ooh, can you make that any bigger? We're really just looking at the top. I just wanted to give an update. Thank you, perfect. Because we've been out paving, and the last BOMA report we have, which we update them on a monthly basis, but we went ahead and updated this section. Public Works team has been out and done a tremendous amount of work. This is just from a couple weeks ago. So we've had 11.25 miles that have been paved now. And if you will go to the second portion, second page here, here is the paving list that we had this year. So everything that has a strike through it has been completed. And then if you keep scrolling down, These are the roads that are still left to do, and then there's a total amount down at the bottom, I think about $3.8 million that we plan to spend this year. So making really good progress through this. Hopefully we can wrap up all the streets really before we get into wintertime. That's the goal. So Sarah and Trace and the whole Public Works team have been working really hard to get that done. And then lastly, if Mr. Gallo could come up here. Today's HR Professional Day. I don't know if any of you know that, but our maestro for HR, Mr. Gallo, does a really good job. He moved across the country and he took over our HR, our IT, and our public information officer. We formed this new kind of catch-all for anything that none of the rest of us want to do. We're like, hey, Jason, this is your task. So he's done a really good job. We really appreciate Jason. And a common comment I hear from staff is just how pleasant it is to work with HR and how helpful they are to the team. And that's because just like Andy, Jason leads by example, and he does a great job with his team. So there's this really cool Hendersonville, Tennessee lapel pin in honor of HR Professionals Day. There you go. Thank you. We have our own code of conduct. It's not on that list.
Yeah, I'll turn his mic on now.
The paving list that we had up.
Yeah, you just had it up and you've done so much, but I'm looking at mine and
Stroll up to what's already been done.
yeah, no, right there. You're down to Nathan Forrest Court, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Waters.
Thank you. That concludes my report.
Wait, whoa, no, it doesn't either, no. I thought you was gonna be here a while. Let's talk about paving. Give me your opinion, or give us your opinion, about how rough it is right now, economy and everything.
Yeah, so our recent paving
check your crystal ball right now.
Our recent paving contract increased approximately 35%. So, as you know, we kept our funding level the same, and basically we had to cut a third of all of our streets.
35% increase already?
That was, we just had a contract that was approved by Rogers Group. So this is under that new pricing.
Okay. Now what about the trash? Have we heard from them, the trash company?
No, we're actually preparing the trash bid right now. So we're preparing the contracts for the trash bid. But, you know, the preliminary estimates is that, you know, the cost could go up to 100%.
So in looking at your crystal ball, how does 24 look compared to 23 with the economy the way it is? As far as paving, I guess infrastructure.
So we're paving 35% less. We're using the same dollars to do 35% less paving. So the level of service this year has reduced for paving because the costs went up so much. You know, our budget wasn't in a position where we had, you know, millions of dollars left over to put additional money into paving. So we had to take the list and we had to cut it 35%. You know, costs across the board have risen. We have been very fortunate to be in a 5-year contract with Waste Pro to stave off the hikes. We've only had 2.5% increases on their contract.
Yeah.
So all the contracts that have come due have come at a substantially higher price when we go to rebid a project. We just did Fire Station 7, and you know the cost to do that was twice of the original estimate. And we're just seeing that across the board on costs. We had in finance committee, we had a report that our sales tax is pretty much flat to what it was last year. We've only done 2 months so far. We're seeing a little bit of an increase in hotel motel because we raised the rate. But as far as activity and sales volume, it's consistent with last year. So it's going to be more of a challenge.
So as far as paving, looking here, we won't finish that this year, will we?
Oh yeah, we hope to finish that this year. That's this year's list.
Pardon?
Yes, we hope to finish that this year. These are budgeted projects, so we hope to finish this year.
So you don't have anything for 24 yet, next year, paving?
No, this is fiscal year 24, so it spans 2023 and the first 6 months of 2024.
I understand.
But no, we haven't put our paving list together for next budget year.
Well, this inflation is killing us. You're doing a good job, Jess and Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Jesse?
That's it. Thank you.
Appreciate it. We have one other thing on our agenda. Y'all remember we added this earlier. Yesterday, I received an email asking if the city was interested in purchasing some property. The reason that we were approached is because several years ago, we were able to get an easement on this property, and as part of that easement, we asked to have the first right of refusal if the property ever sold. I'm not in favor of the city buying that property. However, I feel like I should let y'all know that that's a possibility, and if somebody else wants to sponsor an ordinance to do that, that's up to you. For me, just to withhold that information from you, I don't think is fair, just because I'm not in favor of it. So I'm going to have Lance explain a little bit of what's happening. There you go.
Well, that was mostly it. It's a piece of property that's across from the golf course. It's about 7.5 acres located at 1468 Saundersville Road. We received the notice letter that we have to exercise the right of first refusal within 15 days. But I spoke to the attorney that is representing the seller, and they're going to give us one extra day, because 15 days would be right at the next BOMA meeting on October the 10th. And they're giving us until October the 11th to give them that decision. And that will provide me a little bit of time to do some due diligence to make sure it's an actual bona fide offer with the price and everything. So I will send out to everyone the letter with what price it indicates and a little information about where the property is located to you guys tomorrow. And if you have any questions in the meantime, let me know.
If you'd like for Lance to prepare an ordinance and you be the sponsor, you have every right to do that. Just let him know that. What did you tell the price?
The price in the price as indicated now is $442,588.20, but I would like to do some due diligence to ensure that that is the bona fide price for that. 7.5 acres.
So we have the opportunity to discuss this and possibly give each other some guidance. You've got no obligation, but if there's somebody that's inclined to ask for this to happen, it would sort of be helpful if you spoke up now, because there's a possibility we would have to schedule a special meeting to consider this. You don't have any obligation to speak up now if you want to pursue this, but it would be helpful if you did. Alderman Sassy.
What is it zoned?
Ooh.
It's urban residential, but Desi, what's the?
I believe it's suburban residential. So if you looked at if you just continue up Saundersville Road, there's some houses. I think that's just to the north of where this property's at, and it's the same zoning. I think those are on maybe a third or maybe half of an acre lots up there. So it's a residential zoning.
So 2 to 3 properties per acre.
approximately.
Thank you, Alderman Sassy.
I would defer to the members of Ward 6, Ward 5 on
Okay.
this.
Speaking of Alderman from Ward 5, Alderman Collins. Thank you, Alderman Sassy.
Can you or somebody tell me why we have this first right of refusal? Like, what was the reasoning at the time? The historic, institutional history here on this?
I'm not sure. I had a brief conversation with Mr. Bradley, who prepared the easement deed and I believe negotiated just the first right of refusal. I don't know if that had to do with the golf course, it being a valuable parcel to the golf course or not, since the location is across the street from that. I'm not sure. I don't have any more background than that. I can try to find out more information for you if you'd like.
And did you say it was zoned 2 to 3 houses per acre, approximately?
Jason, can you scroll north and go to almost the intersection of Station Camp and Saundersville? There are 7 houses built there that will be similar to the zoning on this. It's not, I'm sorry, it's not north. It's really sort of east. It's up on the monitor. There we go. So, okay, so that gray area there are 7 houses in that gray area. And I think a lot of us are familiar with those 7 houses. And they have some shared driveways. It'd be similar to what this is. So, Alderman Collins, anything else?
Well, Alderman Sassy asked for our opinions.
Okay.
At this moment, I'm disinclined to invest in land with no purpose behind the use of the land, except for to keep 21 houses from being built. However, I do need to hear from my constituents. So.
Thank you, Alderman Collins. Alderman Garden, do you want to say anything?
I agree with Alderman
Holmes, I'm sorry. Can you say that again?
I am in agreement with Alderman Collins.
Okay. Thank you. Alderman Dixon.
Why did we want the easement?
I'm not real sure. Mr. Bradley only mentioned in a very, very brief conversation I had with him that he thought that the golf course would, this was in 2003 when this occurred. So I don't know if there was something planned or envisioned for the golf course back then, but he just mentioned the golf course.
Interesting, because it's on the opposite side of the road.
There might be a pipe that goes through there to our golf
Okay,
course. We
okay.
haven't been able to determine that yet.
Okay. Yeah, I'm in agreement that I don't think we need to go in debt to purchase property that we don't need. So that's my opinion.
Alderman Dixon, thank you. Alderman Peterson.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth, but you don't want to turn down 7.5 acres because it's just going to get developed. And there's, 20 houses going in there? I would like to ask, if I may, Director Gilly to address the podium and tell us what purpose that we could use this property for. I'm envisioning a park or something to that effect that would benefit not only Ward 6 and 5, but everybody in the city. Thank you.
7 acres, is that correct?
7.5.
I mean, it would put it in perspective. The property we own at that's now Heritage Park, that farmland is 35 acres, so about 1/5 of that is what you'd be looking at. Definitely could put a park at Park. We could give Alderman Skidmore the swimming pool he wanted in the 80s back there. 90s, maybe 90s, sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, there's lots of things you could do in a 7-acre place with all the growth coming out that way, especially there's not going to be that much more places for a parkland.
And isn't that, didn't we apply, or we have a application right now for Blue Cross Blue Shield Healthy Place Park? Wouldn't that be a great location for something like that?
Would be. It would be, if we don't get it at Volunteer Park. That's where we applied for the grant for this year. I mean, you're talking about playgrounds, dog parks, pavilions, disc golf. You're not going to have a lot of room for athletic fields, I wouldn't think, more than one or two. Especially if you had to include parking and other things like that.
Yeah, I think a playground would be a perfect venue there. Dog park, there's so many different things because what were the top items that the residents requested when we did the master plan for the parks?
Splash pad. That'd be number one on the list probably that everybody requested. But splash pad, more athletic fields, more greenways and trails, and then we've all discovered the need for inclusive playground spaces.
Okay, well, something to think about. Thank you, Director.
Well,
Alderman Peterson, thank you. Andy, thank you. Alderman Waters.
Andy, don't leave. I hadn't dismissed you yet.
Sorry.
Bring us up to date on that grant that Alderman Peterson was asking you about.
The Blue Cross Healthy Place grant?
Yeah.
So that was a grant that we applied for in August for a turf athletic field and an inclusive playground at Volunteer Park.
Yeah.
We probably won't hear back from that until January. Typically, that's when they announce the winners and losers of that.
What's your personal opinion? You think we got a chance of getting it?
I mean, we're in the game, so we have a chance, right? They haven't told us we don't have it. We have applied for 4 years in a row. It's getting to the point where it's if you look at a map of where they've put all those, it's getting to the point where it's kind of comical. Why hadn't the 10th largest city in the state or whatever we are now received one yet? We could argue that they think our economic demographic doesn't need things, but I can tell you that we definitely have economic demographics that do need things.
Is that a full grant? 50,
it is.
50?
Yes,
full,
sir.
Full grant.
Uh-huh.
God, I hope you get it, brother. Getting back to this, Mayor, we just heard from Jesse about finances here, and you're talking about buying more property. I'd be against it altogether, all the way through, because it's getting tough, and we don't know what 24 is going to hold for us. But I wouldn't entertain anything about spending, what, 400?
42,000.
Huh?
442,000.
Say it louder.
442,000.
Everybody heard that. Thank you, Mayor.
Alderman Waters, thank
Andy.
you. Alderman
dismissed.
Sassy.
Huh?
Am I dismissed?
No.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
My turn?
Alderman Sassy.
All right, I'm back. Mr. Gilly, do you think the golf course could use this property for anything? Maybe we could partner with the golf course. I mean, the golf course is self-funded.
Well, we own the golf course.
Well, right.
So we'd be partnering with ourselves.
Well, basically, yeah. But do you think
the golf course is about to put out a bid in the spring for about a $250,000 to $300,000 irrigation pump. That's probably more of a need than more land. So if you're looking for funds from that, I mean, that would probably come before land. What the golf course would use that for, I don't truly know, other than a practice or training facility, perhaps. I'm not real sure what that could be used for.
Yeah. Okay. Another thought, and I'm just spitballing here, folks, but There was a proposal for a soccer facility over by Noxtas Elementary. This could be an alternate site for that. We don't have really anything over there currently that is parks related, so something to consider. That's all I had.
Thank you, Alderman Sassy. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that, so the city's first right of refusal would be to any bona fide offer. A bona fide offer would be one that the price is fair market value. So I haven't had the opportunity to do any diligence to determine if that is the fair market value for that piece of property. So that is the price that has been indicated as an offer. But I just wanted to inform the board that I'll be looking into that as well.
Thank you, Lance. Alderman Robertson.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I agree with my colleague, Alderman Waters. We've just got too many other needs. I mean, we need to buy some fire engines, and we need to buy some other stuff, and we need to do more paving. So, and is it correct, Andy, that Forest Park that is being built near this area has donated some land to the city for some mountain trails and for some parks?
I believe that is the case as part of the development
So that
passing.
was given to us. That was donated to us. So we do have some park land in that area. It's not very level. But maybe we could refer this to the soccer, league to see if they might be interested in it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Alderman Robertson. Any other discussion? Alderman Skidmore, would you like to make a motion?
Oh, yes, sir, that would be wonderful.
We have a motion to adjourn from Alderman Skidmore, a second from Alderman Waters. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That's unanimous. We're adjourned. Thank you all. So,